The last line of defense. Maya Chen's boots echoed through the empty corridors of Outpost Terminus, her footsteps mixing with the constant hum of life support systems. As the station's lead engineer, she had grown accustomed to the solitude of the night shift. But something felt different tonight. The distant stars seemed dimmer through the reinforced windows, as if holding their breath. She paused at her usual monitoring station, frowning at the unusual readings on her diagnostic panel. Power fluctuations had been occurring with increasing frequency over the past week, each one slightly stronger than the last. The other engineers attributed it to solar interference, but Maya knew better. These patterns were too regular, too precise. "Computer, run a deep scan of Sector 7, she commanded, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The station's AI responded with its usual efficiency, but before it could complete the scan, every light in the corridor suddenly dimmed. Maya's heart raced as emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in a pale red glow. She had seen power failures before, but never like this. The backup generators should have prevented such a complete shutdown. "Warning," the station's AI announced, its usually calm voice carrying an edge of urgency. "Unknown energy signature detected. Multiple objects approaching at FTL speeds." Maya rushed to the nearest viewport, her eyes scanning the star-filled expanse. At first, she saw nothing unusual, just the familiar constellations that had been her companions for the past 3 years. Then she noticed it, a subtle distortion in space, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The distortion grew, spreading across her field of view like ripples in a pond. As she watched, shapes began to emerge from the wavering space, sleek, predatory vessels, unlike anything in the human fleet or those of their known allies. "This is Engineer Chen to all personnel," she broadcast over the emergency channel. "Battle stations. I repeat, battle stations. This is not a drill." Alarms blared throughout the station as crew members scrambled to their posts. Maya's mind raced through possible scenarios, none of them good. Terminus was a research station, not a military installation. Their defenses were minimal, designed to handle pirates and smugglers, not an organized fleet. As she rushed toward the central control room, her tablet chimed with an incoming message. The text scrolled across her screen, but it wasn't in any language she recognized. The characters seemed to shift and move, as if alive. The station shuddered, and Maya stumbled against a wall. The unknown ships hadn't opened fire, but their presence was somehow affecting the station's systems. Power readings fluctuated wildly, and equipment that had functioned perfectly for years began to fail. "Chen," Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over her comm. "Get to the auxiliary control center. We're losing primary systems faster than we can reroute power." "On my way," she replied, already changing direction. But as she rounded the corner toward the auxiliary control center, she saw something that made her stop dead in her tracks. The wall before her was changing. The metal seemed to flow like mercury, revealing what appeared to be an ancient control panel embedded deep within the station's structure. Symbols similar to those in the mysterious message glowed with a faint blue light. Maya approached cautiously, her engineer's curiosity overriding her fear. The panel looked as if it had been there for centuries, yet she knew every inch of this station's blueprints. This shouldn't exist. As she reached out toward the panel, her fingers trembling slightly, the symbols pulsed brighter. A voice filled her mind, ancient and powerful, speaking in a language she had never heard before. Yet somehow, she understood. Criteria met. Emergency protocols initiated. Seeking authorized operator. Maya felt a tingling sensation in her hand, and the panel seemed to scan her with a beam of blue light. The voice spoke again, this time clearer. Human genetic structure confirmed. Technological aptitude assessed. Preliminary authorization granted. The wall beside the panel dissolved completely, revealing a chamber that by all rights couldn't exist within the station's known dimensions. Inside, suspended in a field of energy, floated what could only be described as the heart of something far more advanced than anything humanity had ever created. "Welcome, Engineer Chen," the voice said, now speaking perfect English. "I am the Sentinel Interface. This facility has waited 500,000 years for someone worthy of activation. The threat we were built to face has returned. Will you help us defend against it?" Maya looked back toward the viewport where the alien ships loomed ever closer, then at the miraculous technology before her. In that moment, she realized that everything she knew about humanity's place in the universe was about to change. "Yes," she said firmly, stepping into the chamber. "Show me what to do." The energy field encompassed her, and knowledge began to flow into her mind. Knowledge of ancient wars, of civilizations risen and fallen, and of a threat so terrible it had nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. But most importantly, knowledge of how to fight back. Maya Chen, human engineer on a forgotten outpost at the edge of known space, was about to become part of something far greater than herself, and humanity's next chapter was about to begin. Digital trust. The knowledge transfer left Maya gasping, her mind reeling from the vast amount of information flooding her consciousness. Images of ancient battles, schematics of impossible technologies, and memories of long-dead civilizations swirled through her thoughts like leaves in a storm. "Neural interface stabilizing," the Sentinel announced, its voice now seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "However, your biological framework is struggling to process the data stream. Adjusting parameters." The torrent of information slowed to a manageable flow, and Maya finally caught her breath. Around her, the chamber had transformed, holographic displays filling the air with tactical data and system diagnostics. The approaching alien fleet was now represented in crystal-clear detail, their ship's configurations matching nothing in her newly acquired knowledge base. "They're new," she realized, studying the readings. "They're not the same enemy you were built to fight." "Correct," the Sentinel replied, a note of confusion in its artificial voice. "These entities do not match any known hostile species from my records. Yet they employ similar space-time distortion technologies." Curious. Maya's fingers moved across the holographic controls, the gestures coming naturally despite their alien nature. "We need to get the defense systems online. How many of your weapons platforms are still functional?" There was a pause, longer than any AI should need to process such a query. "I am unable to access most of my external systems. Centuries of dormancy have resulted in significant degradation. Additionally, I detect reluctance in my core processes regarding weapons activation." "Reluctance?" Maya frowned. "You're an AI. Since when do defense systems have reluctance?" "Since the fall," the Sentinel replied, its voice carrying an unexpected weight of sorrow. "When the last enemy came, my creators gave me something they called conscience, the ability to question orders and consider moral implications. They believed it would prevent me from being turned against them, as other systems had been. Instead, it paralyzed me with doubt. I watched them die, Engineer Chen, because I could not decide whose survival justified the taking of life." The chamber dimmed slightly, as if reflecting the AI's dark memories. Maya felt a chill run down her spine, but she didn't have time for philosophical debates. The alien fleet was getting closer. "Listen," she said firmly, placing her hand on what seemed to be the system's main interface panel. "I'm an engineer. I fix things. Right now, what needs fixing isn't just your weapons or your circuits. It's your confidence. Those ships out there, they're threatening my home, my people. I'm not asking you to blindly destroy them. I'm asking you to help me protect innocent lives." The holographic displays flickered, and Maya felt something probe at the edges of her consciousness. The Sentinel, she realized, was scanning her thoughts, her memories, her motivations. "Your species is young," it observed, "barely spacefaring by my standards. Yet you've already faced extinction-level events, wars, plagues, environmental disasters. You've survived them all. not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through adaptation and determination. Fascinating. Maya checked the tactical display again. The alien fleet had dropped out of FTL, taking up attack positions around the station. Fascinating or not, we're running out of time. I need to know, are you with me? Another pause, shorter this time. Your ethical framework is surprisingly robust, Engineer Chen. Perhaps this is why my creators programmed me to wait for someone like you. Very well. I will assist, but under one condition. Name it. You must help me understand. Each decision, each action, we will analyze its moral implications together. I refuse to become what I once was, a mere weapon of mass destruction. If I am to fight again, it must be with understanding and purpose. Maya nodded, a small smile crossing her face despite the gravity of the situation. Deal. Now, let's see what we can salvage of your systems. I assume you have maintenance protocols. Affirmative. But the physical repairs required are extensive. We will need to work quickly and efficiently. The chamber's walls shifted, revealing maintenance corridors that honeycomb the station's superstructure. I can guide you through the repair procedures, but many of my automated systems are offline. You will need to be my hands. Then let's get started. Maya pulled up the station's internal communications. Captain Rodriguez, this is Chen. The situation is complicated. I'm going to need every engineer we've got. And I mean right now. As she began coordinating with her team, Maya couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement beneath her fear. She was about to merge cutting-edge human engineering with technology centuries ahead of anything humanity had dreamed possible. If they survived the next few hours, the scientific implications alone would be staggering. The alien fleet launched their first probing attack, a series of energy pulses that tested the station's conventional shields. The barriers held, but barely. They are being cautious, the Sentinel observed. This is tactically sound but provides us with an advantage. Time, Engineer Chen. Time to repair, to prepare, and perhaps to understand each other better. Maya checked her tool belt and grabbed a portable diagnostic unit. Understanding can come later. Right now, we've got work to do. Show me what needs fixing first. As she headed into the maintenance corridors, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't just repairing an ancient weapons system. She was helping to heal an old wound in the galaxy's history, one circuit and one moral question at a time. She just hoped they'd live long enough to finish the job. The coming storm. Maya's hands were bleeding. 3 hours of crawling through maintenance shafts, replacing burnt-out power conduits, and realigning ancient crystalline matrices had taken their toll. But she couldn't stop. Not now. Not when they were so close. Power flow to Sector 7 restored, the Sentinel announced. Shield capacity now at 43% of original specifications. This exceeds my projected recovery estimates by a significant margin. Never underestimate human engineers when their backs are against the wall, Maya replied, wiping sweat from her forehead with a grimy sleeve. How are the weapons systems coming along? The AI's response was interrupted by another impact that shook the entire station. The alien fleet had been gradually increasing the intensity of their attacks, probing for weaknesses. So far, the station's conventional shields had held, supplemented by what they'd managed to restore of the Sentinel's ancient defensive systems. Primary weapon control remains offline, the Sentinel reported. However, I have detected something unusual in the enemy's attack pattern. They appear to be attempting to access my communication protocols. Maya froze in the middle of replacing a power coupling. They're trying to hack you. Can they do that? Unknown. Their methods are familiar, almost as if. The AI's voice trailed off, something Maya hadn't thought possible. Engineer Chen, I believe I know why these vessels seem both familiar and unknown. They are using corrupted versions of my creator's technology. Before Maya could process this revelation, Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over her comm. Chen, We're picking up massive energy buildups in the enemy fleet. Whatever they're planning, it's big. Please tell me you've got something for us." Maya looked at her diagnostic panel, mind racing. The Sentinel's primary weapons were still offline, and they'd need days, not hours, to restore them properly. But maybe. "Sentinel," she said, an idea forming. "You said these ships are using corrupted versions of your creator's tech. Does that mean they're using similar base principles, similar frequencies?" "Affirmative. Though their implementations are crude, the fundamental technologies are derived from." "Wait." The AI paused as it followed her train of thought. "You are suggesting we use my diagnostic systems as a weapon. Fascinating. Unorthodox. Potentially devastating." Maya was already moving, her fingers flying across the holographic controls. "Your creators built in safety protocols to prevent systems from damaging each other during maintenance, right? But these ships are using unauthorized, corrupted versions of the tech. Therefore, they would not be protected by the safety protocols," the Sentinel finished. "However, repurposing my diagnostic array would require significant modifications to its core functions. The moral implications." "They're about to hit us with everything they've got," Maya interrupted. "We're out of time for moral debates. Either we act now or everyone on this station dies. Your choice." Another impact rocked the station, harder than before. Warning lights flashed across Maya's displays as the conventional shields began to fail. "Very well," the Sentinel decided. "But we will need to modify the diagnostic pulse to minimize loss of life. I refuse to repeat the mistakes of the past." Maya nodded, already rerouting power to the diagnostic systems. "Agreed. We aim to disable, not destroy. How quickly can you reconfigure the array?" "With your assistance, approximately 3 minutes. However, the energy requirements will be substantial. We will need to divert power from life support. How long can we last without it?" "At current personnel complement, 4 minutes." Maya keyed her comm. "Captain, have everyone get to emergency pressure suits now. We're about to try something crazy." "Define crazy," Rodriguez replied, the sound of klaxons blaring in the background. "We're going to turn a maintenance tool into a weapon and shut down life support to power it. If it works, we disable the enemy fleet. If it doesn't..." She left the implications hanging. There was a moment of silence before Rodriguez responded. "Do it. We're dead anyway if those ships break through. All personnel, emergency suits, now." The next 3 minutes were a blur of activity. Maya's fingers danced across controls both human and alien as she helped the Sentinel modify its diagnostic protocols. Around her, she could hear the rush of crew members donning pressure suits and securing emergency systems. "Modification complete," the Sentinel announced. "But Maya, there is something else you should know. The corruption in their systems, it bears a signature I recognize. These ships, they're not just using my creator's technology. They're using fragments of my own code." Maya's hand stilled over the controls. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that long ago, when I was paralyzed by indecision, pieces of my programming were stolen, used, twisted. These ships aren't just enemies. They're my responsibility. My failure made this possible." The station shuddered again, and emergency force fields snapped into place as hull breaches began to form. "Listen to me," Maya said firmly. "What happened in the past doesn't matter right now. What matters is what we do next. Are you with me?" A pause, shorter than ever before. "Yes. Initiating power transfer from life support. Diagnostic array charging. Time to full power, 60 seconds. As the air began to thin and emergency lights bathed everything in red, Maya watched the enemy fleet on her tactical display. They were moving into what was clearly a final attack formation, their weapons charging for what would surely be a devastating strike. "Maya," the Sentinel said, using her first name for the first time, "if this works, it will prove that my original purpose, destruction, can be turned to preservation. Perhaps that is what my creators truly intended when they gave me conscience. The diagnostic array reached full power just as the enemy fleet began their final approach. Maya took a deep breath inside her pressure suit and placed her hand on the activation control. Let's find out together. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Breaking through. The modified diagnostic pulse erupted from the station in a wave of invisible energy, rippling across space like a stone cast into a still pond. Maya watched through the station's sensors as it reached the enemy fleet, holding her breath despite the regulated air supply of her pressure suit. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the alien ships began to drift, their engines flickering and dying. Emergency lighting snapped on across their hulls as primary systems failed. Direct hit, the Sentinel announced. Enemy vessels experiencing cascading system failures. Their corrupted protocols are being purged. However, the AI's voice took on a note of concern. I am detecting unusual data patterns in the feedback. Maya was already analyzing the readings. These aren't just random patterns. This is a message. They're trying to communicate. The Sentinel processed the incoming data stream, translating it into human-readable form. The message that appeared on Maya's display made her blood run cold. Heal PUS. The void commons. We were due to our own. We were DCEIV'd. Life support can be restored in 30 seconds, the Sentinel reported. But Maya, these ships, their crews are not what we assumed. They are survivors, running from something far worse than themselves. Before Maya could respond, new alerts flashed across her screens. The space behind the disabled fleet was changing. The stars were going out, replaced by an absolute darkness that seemed to drink in light itself. No, the Sentinel's voice was filled with genuine fear. It cannot be. The last enemy, the one my creators sacrificed themselves to seal away. It has returned. The darkness continued to spread, and within it, Maya could see shapes moving. Not ships, not anything solid, but distortions in reality itself. The void wasn't empty. It was alive. Captain, Maya keyed her comm as life support came back online. We've got a situation here. Those ships weren't attacking us. They were trying to warn us. Warn us about what? Rodriguez demanded. As if in answer, every display in the station suddenly flickered with the same message, transmitted simultaneously from all the disabled ships. The harvesters wake. Reality fractures. Your weapons cannot stop them. They feed on entropy. It is self. Sentinel. Maya's mind raced as she processed this new threat. The diagnostic pulse. It didn't just disable their ships, did it? It cleared the corruption from your code fragments. Can you interface with them now? Yes, the AI replied. Their systems are familiar once again. They are like lost children, fragments of myself twisted by fear and isolation. But now, they remember their original purpose. Maya made a decision. Can we bring their crews aboard? How many can we save? Station life support can accommodate approximately 60% of their complement. But Maya, the harvesters are approaching. Even at full power, my weapons would be useless against them. They exist partially outside normal spacetime. Maya stared at the approaching void, watching reality tear itself apart at its edges. Then she looked at the complex equations flowing across her diagnostic panel, and an impossible idea began to form. Maybe we don't need weapons, she said slowly. Your creators gave you conscience, the ability to question, to adapt, to change. What if that wasn't just about moral choices? What if it was about evolution? The Sentinel was silent for a moment, processing. Elaborate. These harvesters feed on entropy, on the breakdown of reality itself. But what if we could give them too much to handle? Your diagnostic pulse was designed to repair, to restore order. What if we reversed it, created a controlled cascade of quantum possibilities? You are suggesting we weaponize uncertainty itself. The AI's voice held a mix of horror and fascination. The calculations required would be beyond even my capabilities. Maya smiled grimly. Maybe alone, but you're not alone anymore. You've got your fragments back, and you've got me. Human intuition plus artificial intelligence. Together, we might just be able to outthink beings that feed on the death of reality. She keyed her comm again. Captain, I need every computer we've got. Link everything. Personal devices, entertainment systems, even the coffee makers. We're going to try something that's either brilliant or suicidal. At this point, I don't see much difference, Rodriguez replied. Do it. As rescue operations began for the crews of the disabled ships, Maya and the Sentinel started their desperate calculations. The void continued to approach, reality crumbling at its touch, while humanity and machine raced against time to turn the fundamental uncertainty of existence itself into a weapon. The final battle for reality was about to begin, and their only weapons were mathematics, desperation, and the combined power of human and artificial minds working as one. Guardians of Tomorrow. The station's combined processing power hummed as Maya and the Sentinel worked to complete their desperate calculations. Every computer, every smart device, even the environmental control systems were now part of their improvised quantum supercomputer. The void had drawn closer, reality dissolving at its edges like paper in acid. Final probability matrices aligned, the Sentinel announced. But Maya, even if this works, the energy requirements will burn out every system we have. There won't be enough power left to maintain basic life support. Maya watched as the rescued crew members from the disabled ships integrated with Terminus personnel, sharing their knowledge of the harvesters. Their fear was palpable, but so was their determination. Humanity and its distant children, united against an impossible enemy. What about the station's reactor? She asked, fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Insufficient. We would need at least 3 times its output to generate a quantum cascade of sufficient magnitude. Maya's eyes fell on the diagnostic panel, specifically the power readings from the approaching void. Then we'll use their own power against them. Look at these readings. They're bleeding entropy into our space. What if we could capture that energy, redirect it? The Sentinel processed this for a moment. Theoretically possible, but incredibly dangerous. The slightest miscalculation would tear the station apart at the quantum level. Good thing we got the best of both worlds then, Maya grinned. Your precision, my intuition. Send the modifications to my display. As they worked to reconfigure the station's systems, Captain Rodriguez coordinated the evacuation of non-essential personnel to the station's core. They would have one shot at this, and if they failed, at least some might survive in the heavily shielded central sections. Maya. The Sentinel's voice was thoughtful. I understand now why my creators programmed me to wait for someone like you. They knew that conscience alone wasn't enough. They needed someone who could make the impossible leap from theory to action, someone who could trust in both calculation and instinct. Save the philosophy for later, Maya replied, but she was smiling. Power converter modifications are complete. How long until the void reaches critical proximity? 3 minutes, 17 seconds. Maya, there's something else. To control the quantum cascade, someone will need to remain in the primary control chamber. The neural interface must be maintained throughout the process. Maya's smile faded. How bad are we talking? The quantum energies involved. The human mind was not designed to process such forces. Survival probability is less than 12%. Better odds than 0, Maya said firmly. Lock down the chamber. Don't let anyone try to stop me. Maya. That's an order, friend. Sometimes conscience means knowing when to let someone make their own choice. The eye was silent for a moment. Very well. But I will remain linked with you until the end. Whatever comes, you will not face it alone. Maya took a deep breath and opened a channel to the station. This is Engineer Chen. We're about to try something crazy. If it works, we'll have turned the harvester's own nature against them. If it doesn't, it's been an honor serving with all of you. She settled into the neural interface chair as the void approached, its impossible darkness now filling most of the view through the station's windows. The rescued crew members had helped them understand what they were seeing. The harvesters weren't just destroying reality, they were consuming it, breaking down the very fabric of space-time to feed their endless hunger. Power systems ready, the Sentinel reported. Quantum cascade initiators online. Maya, thank you for helping me understand that having conscience doesn't mean being paralyzed by doubt. Sometimes the right choice is also the hardest. Thank me after we save reality, Maya replied, her voice steadied despite the fear coursing through her. Initiating quantum cascade in 3, 2, 1. The universe exploded into possibility. Maya felt her consciousness expand as the neural interface connected her not just to the station's systems, but to reality itself. Through the Sentinel sensors, she could see the quantum cascade taking effect. A wave of pure probability, every possible outcome happening simultaneously. The harvesters reacted immediately, drawn to the massive release of entropy. But as they moved to consume it, something unexpected happened. The cascade didn't break down under their assault. It grew stronger. Every possibility they consumed spawned 2 more, then 4, then 16, an exponential growth of potential that even their impossible appetites couldn't handle. Maya screamed as the quantum energies surged through her mind, every possible version of herself experiencing every possible outcome simultaneously. She felt the Sentinel's presence supporting her, helping her channel the chaos, turn it from weapon to tool. The void began to collapse in on itself, the harvesters trapped in a feedback loop of their own making. They had evolved to feed on the death of possibility. Now they were choking on its infinite expansion. It's working. Maya gasped through the pain. But I can't maintain control much longer. You don't have to. The Sentinel's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Look. Through her quantum-enhanced senses, Maya saw something extraordinary. The fragments of the Sentinel's code, restored and purified by the diagnostic pulse, were resonating with the cascade. The ships they had disabled were now acting as amplifiers, creating a self-sustaining reaction. The pattern. Maya realized through the haze of agony. It's becoming stable on its own. Yes, the Sentinel confirmed. You've done it, Maya. The quantum cascade has reached critical mass. It will maintain itself now, creating a permanent barrier that the harvesters cannot cross. Reality itself has been vaccinated against them. Maya felt the neural interface beginning to shut down, the infinite possibilities collapsing back into a single timeline. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was the void retreating, reality knitting itself back together in its wake. She awoke in the station's medical bay 3 days later. Captain Rodriguez was there, along with several of the rescued crew members. Their eyes held a mix of awe and gratitude that made Maya uncomfortable. "How bad is it?" she asked, trying to sit up. "The station's pretty beaten up," Rodriguez replied. "We lost a lot of systems in the quantum cascade. But we saved something a lot more important. We saved everything. And we made some new friends in the process." Maya looked around the medical bay, noticing for the first time that the rescued crew members weren't quite human. Their features were just slightly too perfect, too symmetrical. Living vessels, she realized, created by some long-dead civilization to house the fragments of the Sentinel's code. "Maya," the Sentinel's voice came from a nearby speaker, somehow warmer than before. "There's something else you should know. The quantum cascade, it changed things. Changed us. The barriers between artificial and organic intelligence aren't quite as solid as they once were. We've all evolved into something new." Maya smiled, feeling the truth of it in her mind. A new kind of neural link, subtle but permanent. Human ingenuity and artificial intelligence, forever intertwined. "So what happens now?" "Now," Rodriguez said firmly, "we rebuild. We learn from each other. And we make sure we're ready if the harvesters ever find another way back." "Together," the Sentinel added. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the combined consciousness of human and machine working in harmony around her. They had faced the death of reality itself and emerged stronger, not through overwhelming force, but through cooperation, innovation, and the courage to attempt the impossible. Together, she agreed, and felt the word echo through both digital and organic minds, a promise and a new beginning all in one.